The real world really kicked my butt. I mean it. I thought I knew everything until I hit the real world. I'm not talking about the real adult world like what's outside here. I'm talking about this event. It's called the real world. You spend a day pretending you're already on your own, so you have to get a job, figure out how to spend your money, find a place to live. It's hard, but fun. See, I come to this teen center, and there's this teacher here, her name's Miss Harris, and she said I needed to go to this real world thing to learn what it takes to live on your own. Well, I didn't want to do that, because I figured I already knew what it takes. But I went anyway, and it just kicked my butt. There was all this stuff I didn't know, like when housing people were talking to me about paying first and last month's rent, I'd be like, I wasn't even there last month. What do I have to pay that for? And I wasn't the only one. Kids like me, we think we know everything, but we don't. And the real world showed me that. See, I came into foster care when I was 8, and I've never been happy with it. And I always said, when I'm 18, I'm out of here. Well, here I am, almost 20 now, and I stayed in. And I stayed in because of the real world. It taught me I still have a lot to learn. If I went out there now, I know I wouldn't do well. I might end up homeless, or with a kid, or who knows what. And all of it costs money. So I really want to encourage you to do this program because all teenagers need this. And it's fun, really.
Give me a call when you get ready.
But it can also be frustrating because you think you have enough money for all the things you want, but if you don't stay in school, you won't make enough. Money just gets sucked right out of you. The real world gave me a clue about that. So I'm staying in school and I'm saving my money, so I'll be ready. Now, you might want to hear from someone else who went through the real world.
I was 15 and I thought, I don't need this. I'll be 16 in a couple of months and I'm gonna quit school and get a job with my dad. He fixes cars and I can do that too. But then my case manager says I gotta do this real world thing if I wanna go on our spring trip. So I go in there and they gave me this job working with cars, which is cool. But salary's not that much and they say this is what I'll make if I quit school. So I think this still seems like a lot of money. But then they take out taxes and a bunch of other stuff too. Huh. Now I can't even afford to live on my own. I gotta get roommates, I can't afford a car. I can't even afford a bus pass. Well, hell. If I learned anything that day, it's to stay in school. I'm not a great student or anything, but I have to get a diploma to make enough money. I'll still work with cars, I just need to make more money doing that. I get that now. The real world helped me figure out a couple of things. Glad I got that now, instead of later.
Okay, so you see how the real world can help us understand why education's important. But what about the adults that volunteer their time? You know, the business people who work the booths and stuff? What's in it for them?
Well, I was contacted by a friend of mine, and he told me a little bit about the program. And when he said that this was practical information for kids coming up, that where they're going to have to deal with insurance, banking, rental, buying a house, I realized that when I was their age, I really didn't know how to do that stuff. So it sort of creates an insecurity. And in that insecurity, it almost makes you afraid to ask questions. And I felt like that this was something that I could do that would really actually help somebody be in a better position than I was when I got to that point. So I jumped at the chance.
One of the things that really caught my attention was that it wouldn't be a 2 or 3 day investment. It would basically just be my preparation time and then showing up.
One day.
And that really attracted me. But that isn't what kept me coming back. It was the involvement from the kids. The initial part, though, was that I could make an impact in my community, that I could go out and do something, and I could see some results from that as well. That was important.
But then once you get in there and you're getting one-on-one with those kids,
It's an impact
the
on
community
a child.
kind of steps back.
Yeah.
It's really this kid who's in
Yeah,
front
it
of
really
you.
is.
Yeah.
It really is. I definitely agree with that.
I was terrified the first time. I didn't know what to expect, and they can be intimidating, but I think once you've done it, you realize how not intimidating they are,
Right.
and they're like absolutely like sponges for the information.
Yeah, as the day goes on, you get more comfortable, they
Yeah.
get more comfortable, and you see them start to progress
Yeah.
and start to understand what you're doing, and that, in a way, kind of gives you momentum. Would you say that it was the light bulb that went off over the course of the day to where they got more and more savvy about everything?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
They almost grew up as coming
Yeah.
in a little rough around the edges. But at the end of the day, there was definitely a difference. You could see that they were more attentive, they were aware, and in some ways they were humbled. I think having maybe come in thinking, and I'm leaving, I'm going to be independent in a year, so I can handle whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And at the end of the day, to say, wow, if that happened to me, what would I do? To have that thought, I don't know if I'm prepared for that.
Right.
That was at least some of the experiences that I saw.
Well, it was really interesting to see them shoulder to shoulder at your booth in different life situations because of
Yeah.
the cards that they were given.
Yeah.
And one would come up, and I heard the Ferrari. They came up and say, I'm going to buy a Ferrari. I need insurance on it. And of course, I'd give them what the premium was, and their eyes would go like
Right,
this.
of course.
And they started to look at what their income was, and they said, well, if I buy a Ferrari, I'm not going to be able to get an apartment or buy a house. I said, are you going to live in the Ferrari? And they said, well, obviously no. So they started to realize
No
that
kitchen in a Ferrari.
there are choices and sacrifices that you have to make.
Absolutely.
And they really started to understand that.
Yeah.
Wants
So-
versus needs.
Yeah.
Kids get bombarded these days with a consumer-oriented society, and they want. So when you start talking to them about the concept of saving or the concept of incrementally saving for something, that they don't have to get immediate gratification, it's something that we intuit, but if you're not exposed to that kind of information, you're not going to intuit it, and then all of a sudden you're 20 years old and getting a credit card because someone sends you an application in the mail, and before you know it, you're
In debt.
$10,000 in debt.
Sure, sure, absolutely.
It's a scary scenario, and if you don't have somebody telling you, you don't know what to do.
The vast majority of the young people who were there, or the children who were wanted the information.
Right.
They came in hungry and desiring of it.
Yeah.
There weren't very many detractors at all.
Once again, it just sort of gave you the feeling that, we really were able to make a difference to somebody.
Yeah.
So I would say to a small business owner, or for that matter, a business manager, that this is as worthwhile an event as there ever existed. My experiences have just been so positive. It serves twofold.
Right.
We serve those who are in most need in our communities, while also getting our business name, our business exposed to a population of future clients.
Yeah.
That's a win-win of the highest order.
I agree. I agree. If you have if there's a chance to do it, do it.
Right.
I can't imagine not doing it.
Me either.
And the only thing I would chime on top of that is I had a blast. It was fun.
It is. It's a lot of
It
fun.
was, in some ways, I was tired, but as I was driving home, it wasn't like I was tired from working all day. It was more, I expended a lot of energy, but it was that rewarding energy.
It's
it was
exhilarating.
It was.
And
It
you
was
had
very
that glow
worthwhile.
or buzz about you sort of when you left, that
Yeah.
you felt like that day had meant something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
As
was
a matter
more
of
than
fact-
just a Tuesday where you
That's
go
right.
to work and go home.
That's right.
It meant something.
That's right. And in some ways, my time with Real World has prompted me to do a little bit more volunteering and to stay involved in my community. And so it's been just an overall, just a positive experience. It's just been great.
Yeah, I
It's been
agree.
great.
I agree.